Remember what I said in the last video? That 8 out of 10 game console boards that we get in, they have some sort of prior repair attempt done to them. Let me show you. We have a PlayStation board here that Big Boss just disassembled. It was mailed here for no signal. Prior repair attempt. Whoever worked on it, they attempted to solder an HDMI connector. And for the most part, pins are soldered. I've seen a lot worse. I believe we have a bridge here, or maybe not. We have a bridge right here. And we possibly have a bridge right here. Should we use the same connector and just fix the pins? Or should we solder a new connector? Let's flip the board and look at the back. And I do not know what type of solder was used, but look at that matte finish of the solder. I'll feel a lot better if we just replace the whole connector, even though this connector is usable and I do not see any damage to the inside of the connector. But I would feel a lot better if we do a better than factory job rather than fix what we see. I can also tell that we have a missing capacitor right here. All three components are here, so no need to replace them, and I do not see that any work was done anywhere on the board. On the back we also have the diode, it's not missing. And I do not see that anything else was done to that board either. So that's board number 1. Now board number 2 is an Xbox Series X. Let me show you what's going on. Whoever worked on it, they made sure not to leave any pads on the board. They just absolutely made sure that we're gonna rip every pad on the board, because Alex has a lot of time on his hands and he'll be able to just do this for us in 20 seconds. Look at this. They left one pad. I apologize. It's like a person who does not have any teeth and he only have one tooth on the top or the bottom, and he uses that tooth to grind the food. That's how this one feels like. Not making any fun of anybody that do not have teeth, absolutely not, but that's how I imagine it. Just one pad. What can you do? I believe this PlayStation board has good pads. I do not have reason to believe that we have ripped pads from this one, but we'll find out. I do not know what type of solder was used or what type of flux was used. Oh, this looks like low melt solder. Look. Low melt solder. And I do not know if this is the same low melt solder that we use, but I cannot tell. And I do not know what type of flux was used also. You never solder using low melt. You solder using leaded. Leaded is the easiest to work with. Low melt is very soft. You use it to desolder and not to solder. Low melt is brittle, and if the console overheats, it's gonna probably liquefy. So you do not use low melt solder to solder anything. I had to pause the video a bit. I do not know where I left the big tip of my soldering iron. I cannot find it. And I need the big tip so we can desolder those 4 big holes here. I guess the tip just went one way to the 9th dimension. Hopefully it comes back because it's too big for the 9th dimension. When I'm done with the repair, I'll probably find it, but for now, I looked everywhere. I have about 17 tips, and none of the tips are the ones that I need. I have this one here. It's not too big, but what can you do? I may struggle with desoldering those holes if I do not have a big tip, but maybe we can use the help of the hot air station. Let's see how it goes. I mean, since it's low melt solder, it's not so difficult to desolder, and that's what's nice about low melt. But if this was leaded, no way. You need a bigger tip. Bigger tip means more heat transfer. I did a video a while back, maybe 2017, 2018, a long time ago. The beginning years of this YouTube channel. Quality was not as good. Microscope quality, I mean. And I explained, I went over soldering iron tips and I explained the difference between a small tip and a big tip. And I showed some examples under a thermal camera on how the bigger tip, it transfers more heat. But I may need to do that video again, because when I look at that video from a long time, I cringe. A lot has changed. We have more tools, more equipment, better quality microscope, and maybe I can do that video and explain it better than what I did a while back. Sometimes I tell my wife I have some videos from the past that I do not approve of. And she tells me just keep them, because that's how you started. I had to pause the video. A customer came in and she wanted to fix a printer. I said, why? Why do you want to fix a printer? You can buy an all-in-one printer, copier, scanner for less than $100. Why do you want to fix a printer? It's going to cost you at least twice as much to fix than to buy one. And she was happy that I told her that. Customers like when you are honest with them. Why would you want to fix a printer? I do not understand. It's better than the printer going to waste, I agree, but it's not practical or economical to work on printers. She said something with the head jamming, and I would not even waste my time. Just like the last video I did on PS5, you can see that we have a missing capacitor here. So we're gonna have to replace that capacitor. The capacitor can be purchased directly from our site, NorthridgeFix.com. Click on shop. And the capacitor comes in a pack of 10. It's so tiny. You cannot sell one piece and send one piece. The customer is going to be looking for it. Where's that piece? You cannot see it. It's inside the package, but you cannot see it. Of course, we're going to have to put it in a Ziploc, but again, customer looks in a Ziploc. Where is it? It's inside that white packaging. And the customer looks inside the white packaging. Where is it? And it goes on and on and on and on. It looks nice and big under the microscope, but I can tell you that you cannot see that component with the naked eye. Some people can. They have a 50-20 vision, but the average person will not be able to see that component if it's not under a microscope. Size 201. There's still a smaller component than this one, size 1005, but size 201 is very, very small. I mean, even under the microscope, it looks small. Right, so we have enough solder on the pads, and get rid of the glare. Now we're going to apply Amtech 559 Flux. And if you are new to the channel, we are a distributor of the Flux. You can buy directly from us as an individual syringe or wholesale. We need the PS5 connector. Now what I did is I pre-applied solder onto those pads, and now we're going to reflow that connector down in place. And by doing that, we're going to get a better than factory connection. Just press and hold. Press and hold. Keep holding. All right, and let's go ahead and check. Make sure all the pins are solid and looking better than factory. In just a minute, we have a customer, but let me test this quick before I get out to the customer. Be right there. Solid, 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 solid. And it goes on from there. Solid everywhere, everywhere. Yes. Every single pin is super solid. In just a minute, I'll be back. Just finished with that customer. They came from Bakersfield. They brought in a Surface Pro 4. He brought that Surface Pro in about 3 days ago. And I told him it's not really worth it to work on a Surface Pro 4. And if we are to open it to check on the hard drive, there's a chance that the screen can break. And he said, I do not care about the tablet, but I want my information. So we took it in as a data recovery job. I got their data, and they just came to pick up. They're so happy, and they drove all the way from Bakersfield, California. They learned the lesson to back up. They're in the real estate insurance business, and they were going crazy about the information on that Surface Pro. We have better than factory joints here. Let me grab our precision probe. Solid. We already said solid too many times, so let's just say solid at the last pin. But honestly, I cannot help it. Solid, solid, and solid. Beautiful. We did an amazing job. Amazing job. How nice is it when customers mail a device over without any rip pads? How nice is that? And as you can see, we replaced the connector for the customer and did not keep his old one, so we can do a better than factory job. We also replaced that capacitor, and now we have to add solder to the legs on the back. Then Big Boss can reassemble, test, invoice, and mail it back to the customer. So we're gonna apply solder, then we're gonna reflow, then we're gonna apply solder again. And again, I do not have the big tip, so I have no idea where I lost that tip. It should be on my bench. I use it every single day, every single day. I looked on the floor, I see nothing. And I never placed the tip on the other bench, but I did look and nothing. Where is it? You see, the board is too thick. And the tip cannot keep up with heat dissipation because it's small. Now, if you notice, I'm using the side of the soldering iron tip so we can supply as much heat as possible. Now that we applied solder, let's use hot air so solder can flow down all the way to front of the board. And we'll do that while using our soldering iron, just like that. Same here, and same here. Let me just check and make sure that this connector did not pull off. Just look at the solder. Look at how solder flew all the way to the front. Check on the pins one more time before we continue working on the legs, back of the board. Sometimes what happens is when you apply hot air from the back, the front pins can pull off the board. You just want to make sure that those pins did not pull off the board. And we're good. So apply flux again. And then we're gonna do one more layer of solder. And that way we are better than factory. Even when it's not better than factory, it's still better than factory. I know that's confusing, but what can you do? Let's clean up. And if you are able to fix your hair by looking at those joints, or if you're a lady able to fix your makeup by looking at those joints, then we know that we did an amazing job. You can even use this as a security mirror at your business to look out for thieves if you want. So it's a multi-purpose shiny joint. Multi-purpose. Now if we flip the board, let's clean up in the front. And just look at how solder flew all the way to the front of the board. That's amazing. And one last test before we give it to Big Boss to reassemble and test. This is the last week for Big Boss here. He's traveling on Saturday for 1 month, and I'm gonna have to deal with it. I'm gonna be taking less repairs. I'm still gonna be taking repairs, but if somebody wanna mail over a motherboard or stuff that I do not have to take apart, I do not have time to take stuff apart. Let's test. I mean, it has to work. If it's an HDMI connector issue, it has to work because we did a better than factory job. If it turns on, of course. Of course it's gonna work. Of course. That's it. Done. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and we'll do something else in the next video.